Did you feel like you wanted to be on here really badly?
There was a specific video that I did see. A few, actually. Sometimes they just ask very targeted questions to obviously not the brightest people in the room.
That's very insulting to the
It's okay to not be that bright. It's okay. Some people just, it's not their strong suit. But I have seen the tendency to ask, not the brightest people in the room the questions, and then you get the not the brightest answer. And the comments are like, everybody's women
Can you
suck.
make that noise again?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think that's based if you have base takes. Like if you're coming on here and you have base takes, which you may.
Well, we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, exactly.
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was funny. So that's behind the scenes.
I really appreciate that. Touched the heart, honestly.
Showing the video? Or?
I like it.
Just the little...
The montage?
Yeah, I really love
Yeah.
that, actually.
Well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
We'll send
You
it
looked
to you
really
if you
cute.
want
Yeah,
to
body was
upload
tea.
it to
Body
your...
was tea.
I do.
So, okay, we're going to get back to... relationship status. So, tell me your relationship status.
So I'm currently single. I was in a situationship with a red pillar, and that actually is what motivates a lot of my content. I like to spread awareness against the epidemic, which is red
Epidemic.
pill men.
Okay, epidemic
Yep,
of...
red pill men.
What is an epidemic?
It's a crisis. It's,
Crises.
yes, correct.
What is the crises?
The crisis is that red pill ideology is being spread to all of these men. Actually, the United Nations also recognizes it as a crisis because red pill men are more likely to kill women.
When you say red pill, are you referring to what?
I'm referring to men that are extremely misogynistic and hate women. Are you unfamiliar with what red pill is?
Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of terms.
Or so are you unfamiliar with red pill?
Well, why don't you explain it to me? When you use the term red pill, what do you mean?
Okay, so the red pill movement came specifically, they're referring to the Matrix, when kind of men take the red pill and they become awakened to the fact that a lot of women are dangerous for society. Okay?
Did you just say that the fact that women are dangerous to society?
No.
Well, that's your position.
I never said that. I
just
said
did.
this is what men who are red pillars do.
Really quick before I have you continue with the definition, you cited to the United Nations,
Yes.
which is incredibly biased, but okay.
Okay, what is the United Nations bias to?
Oh, there's massive left-wing bias in the United Nations. And like, for example,
Okay.
So for example, like they have a UN women, they don't have like a corresponding UN men.
Why would they?
What do you mean? Wouldn't that be equality?
So women have been oppressed for centuries.
Are women oppressed currently
Some may argue, yes.
in the United States?
Yes, some may argue that.
Is the red pill predominated?
Do I think women are more oppressed than my other minorities? Not necessarily.
Okay, so
I
you're
think,
talking about intersectionality.
yes. I think white women may not be oppressed as women of color, but if we're talking specifically about black women, they are far more oppressed. And yes, they are disadvantaged because they're facing racism, but also misogyny.
Okay.
So anyways, but back to the United Nations being biased.
Yeah, it's
Okay, so you're
biased.
telling me that the United Nations, that has a Security Council that is filled with the United States, China, and other countries are left-leaning.
Yeah, it's if you look at, for example, the UN Women like Twitter account or like what they're doing, it's basically feminist propaganda. So feminism is more a left-wing ideology. So I would say if you're like propagating feminism, that is a left-wing bias.
Okay, so what the United Nations does, a lot of what they do has to do with advocating against genital mutilation in Africa, okay? So, of women.
Of women.
So is that like problematic? We shouldn't fight against that?
Oh, I'm against that 100%.
Okay, so who else is going to do that work if we're not talking about the United Nations?
If we're going to bring up genital mutilation, I think it's fair to bring up the fact that actually male genital mutilation is actually far more prevalent and common throughout most, well, I don't know about in certain countries, but at least in the United States, for example, in many Western countries, male circumcision is completely rampant. And actually, there doesn't seem to be any sort of attention or push brought to this outside of like male spaces.
Okay, so are you trying to compare circumcision to female genital mutilation?
Yeah, well, I'm prepared to say this. So
there's a difference,
well, you gotta
because
allow me
as
to
a
finish.
man.
Yeah, I agree that.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree that there's a difference, and I would be willing to grant, for example, like if we're comparing a one-to-one situation where like a woman has her clitoris removed versus like a fairly commonplace like medical circumcision, I'd be willing to absolutely grant that like the female genital mutilation is worse. However, there's far more instances of circumcision than there are of FGM.
Okay, so if you are a man who is circumcised, can you still use your...
Can a woman who's FGM...
Can you still have an orgasm?
There's different types.
Well, so I would say, just to be charitable, for the majority of men, yeah, probably.
Okay.
However...
Versus...
Okay, that's fine. However,
and then we need to also look
but you got to let me finish if you're going to ask a question. So I would at least point out that it's not always the case that circumcisions happen without any sort of side effects or even like total loss of the penis. In fact, oftentimes, yes, in some cases with circumcision, there's total loss of the penis, there's like severe scarring, all kinds of things that can happen.
Okay, so here's what I want to say though.
Yeah.
I think there is a difference between why female mutilation happens versus circumcision happens, okay? So a lot of the time circumcision happens, it actually started in religion, and a lot of religions believe that it was better, it was either cleaner, or it was a way to show some type of religious whatever, okay? Versus female mutilation started so a woman cannot experience pleasure, because a lot of the countries where you see female mutilation, they don't want that woman to experience pleasure. They don't want her to have an orgasm. They don't believe women should be having sex for reasons other than having children and childbearing. And so that is the difference. That is a key difference to note.
I mean, my understanding of the research I've done, this practice of female genital mutilation, it's actually something that's upheld by the women in these societies. And women will practice it on other women. So it's not like some evil conspiracy of men that are like holding these women down and mutilating their genitals. It's actually typically something that is both practiced by the women in either the tribes or in these societies. And in addition to that, it's also something that's kind of, there's a social pressure, more so that women enact this upon other women versus some sort of patriarchal structure that is like oppressing women into getting FGM.
So a lot of people in specific countries aren't necessarily as educated on that, and so they may feel that way. But I do agree with your point that it may not be only the men. Like, men are these monsters that are forcing women to get mutilated. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of the causes for a circumcision versus mutilation are different, and we need to look at the root causes for that.
Do you want kids when you're older? Or?
I don't know.
If you were to have sons, would you have them circumcised?
It depends. I would look at the health benefits. I would look at how it would affect them when they grow up. And then I would base it off of that. I would want my kids to live a long, healthy life. So whatever would allow them to do that, I would do.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm prepared to say like FGM, and just to be clear, FGM is like terrible and it should be completely abolished in the countries that practice it. At least as it relates to the United States, though, FGM is completely, you can't do that. You can't do FGM. It's a criminal offense. Here, it's like a routine medical practice when there's a newborn boy.
So do you feel that it harms those children to be circumcised?
It does. Yes.
It does not.
I think
It doesn't harm my child.
I mean, there's varying levels.
I think it does.
It doesn't. But they're in pain afterwards, aren't they?
I mean, there's a whole bunch of different arguments. Like, for example, like you're inflicting a psychological wound by like, I mean, they scream and they cry when you do this procedure. So there could be like some potential argument as to like psychological damage that could be done. And in addition to that, while I would be willing to grant that in most cases, yeah, you have a circumcision and your penis down the road ends up working completely fine, I would argue that there is a proportion of people who do have, or boys who do get circumcision who then grow up to have either scarring issues, they have trouble with, they have less sexual pleasure because that is like not to be graphic or whatever, but there's like pleasure, what's the nerves? Thank you. There's like nerves that are removed